Welcome everyone, July 28th.
20.
I did this yesterday. I created copied the notes over and said, okay, let me get the template ready. Welcome everyone, July 28th, Java operators meeting. I hope everyone is okay. Attila, are you typing? Because I hear it.
Cool.
Yes, audio works. Well, it did. I don't hear anything. Did you mute yourself? Or was it me?
No,
No,
it's
I-
not working now.
I briefly heard Attila.
Okay. I did too. I heard typing and then he said, "Oh." And then it went.
He's not on mute, but still, I guess we're not able to hear him at all.
I guess quick update from last time. I believe Christoph is still out today. So we had one ticket that we wanted to discuss when he gets back, but I think Attila, correct me if I'm wrong, you're gonna be out on vacation next week?
Until he's not here, he's rejoining.
Okay.
But I think you did. I think I remember him being out next week. So
So yeah,
that means 2 weeks from now we'll probably have to reconvene.
yeah, that's all I wanted to make sure that like we basically have to punt that agenda item an extra 2 weeks, which is fine, but we just have to remember to bring
Is
it
it
up.
webhook or something else?
Lucky, do you remember what it was? Hold on. It was not a webhook. I can tell you what it was if you give me 2 seconds. I have the issue open in one of these many tabs.
Okay. If you could just put it in the thing and make a note that we'll reconvene this in 2 weeks. Oh, I think there was a chat message. Oh, that was Attila telling us he was going to reconnect.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Cool.
I find it's so funny that we've all been doing like Zoom, Google Meets and stuff for almost 2 years, and we all still have audio problems or video camera problems. I mean, every day I have at least one of my sessions, there's either someone on it or it's me like, what's going on? I do this all the time. What did I do different this time?
And I mean, this is the only job that software needs to solve.
I know. The ones I hate is there are times where it might be Google Meet or if it was Blue Jeans before, it will ask for permission to access the camera and audio, and I forget and I click the wrong one and I click block, and then it's like, okay, how do I get it to ask me again? I need to turn this back on. I have to quit, come back in. Yes, give it permission.
Hey, Attila.
Yep.
Do you remember if we were waiting for Christoph for the contract first and unit testing, or were we waiting for the handling configuration errors?
Oh, if we were waiting for him, I'm not sure if we were waiting for him.
I remember there was one ticket that came up last time that we wanted to discuss with the whole group once you and him were both back from vacation, but I have a couple tickets still open. I wasn't sure which one it was.
Me neither. I think
Okay, if you don't have it off the top of your head, don't worry about it. I'll go back through last meeting's stuff and figure it out.
Yeah.
I just thought in case it was like, on the tip of your tongue.
No. Oh, it's like, yeah, I just a couple of updates later I can, but basically what's the progress and give you we can maybe go through the issues, but I think Chris is not this week and next week is still on PTO, and after that I will be 2 weeks on PTO.
Oh.
So it will be a little bit tricky actually for us to sync up, but maybe I will manage somehow from PTO. I will see.
That's fine. I mean, we can keep them light, and then once everyone's back, I mean, it is summer. That's kind of what happens.
Mm.
And we've got a small enough group that it gets affected really quickly because.
Yeah.
Awesome. Now, it looks like on the last week there was an announcement of the release 3.1. Is that the Java Operator SDK 3.1?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
And then that one, we're waiting for the Quarkus extension to get updated.
Yes, that's
Okay.
that will be done by Chris after he's back.
Okay. And then at that point, I think that's where lucky we can bring those in and update the plugin.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. So then all that lines up. That's fine. So that's good. Quakers. Okie dokie. And then as far as there was something I was supposed to ask folks about from the chairs meeting that we had yesterday.
Yes. How is that progressing with the, or is there any progress?
It's slow. We've got two things that are in flight. One is the initial an initial change to the governance, and then once that, and the problem is they're timed, so it's not waiting on someone to do it. It's more like it has to be public for like 2 weeks before we can hold a vote on it. So that there's one PR that's pending, and once that one goes in, it unblocks the next change, and then that next change starts the process of being able to start making broader changes to move towards the federated model. The question that we were having was in terms of, I think, a contributors ladder and acts, and I guess permissions. Like, what advice would you give? What to do to get ready? Yeah, there is a proposal for a contributors ladder. So basically, members, reviewers, approvers. I think that's the main one. I don't know if maintainer is a separate one or not. And basically, members, once they're members of the org, any member of a project is also a member of the entire org. But each project can control their own reviewers and approvers, each repo. And the sub-projects, like OLM would be a sub-project, SDK would be a sub-project. There's some other little repos that kind of end up in there. Java, I believe, would be its own sub-project. Each sub-project would effectively have a voice at the table and like a voting member. And then each sub-project can control approvers and members. Let's see what else there was. I mean, reviewers and approvers. The debate we were having was, do we, like, if you are a approver of a sub-project, does that also make you an approver of all of the repos in that sub-project? And the debate was like, yes, every repo in the sub-project should be, you should be an approver on, and the other answer was no. So I think we let it to be up to the sub-projects, because, like, for instance, OLM has the OLM main repo, but they also have this project called RuckPack. which is part of OLM. Well, if you're an approver on OLM, that doesn't automatically make you an approver on Rutback.
These are quite distinct areas, I think, so it makes sense to not be an approver for.
Exactly. And that's why we're letting the sub projects decide what that ladder, what those things are. Do you have currently a contributors ladder, or a way that you kind of granted folks access? I didn't think you had anything formal yet.
No. We just basically approve and merge pull requests from outside.
Okay.
Me and Chris, and there are others. Actually, there is lots of people who is actual admin and owner of the project, which are those are never show up anymore. So usually former CS guys and so. But usually me and Chris is reviewing all the PRs, both of us. That's the agreement, kind of a verbal agreement that we try not to merge anything without reviewing each other's work, and both of us reviewing work from outside.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. So yes, it's moving slowly. It's mostly just setting up governance. So it's nothing against allowing it. It's just that when we allow it, we want to make sure that the rules are in place so that you know what we're agreeing to. When you come in, it's like, oh yeah, that governance sounds fair, and we can have as much autonomy as we need, and that's kind of what we were trying to set up.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
So yeah, and the whole time I kept thinking I would not want to be a founding member of a country when they decide to come up with the government for that particular country, because that's pretty much what it felt like. It's like, I said, unless you're taking it over for yourself and becoming your own dictator, and then it's like, yeah, you just do what I say. But
by all accounts, when they wrote the Constitution, wasn't it like hot and sweaty, and they spent 3 days indoors writing this thing, and like it was not a fun experience?
Yeah.
Like I heard it was an awful time actually writing the Constitution.
Well, if it was in July in DC, it would be a swampy mess.
I think it was in July
or in Philadelphia, which is just as bad.
Yeah. They didn't got AC back then,
Yeah.
Did you hear that yesterday was a new constitution in Tunis or Tunisia?
I did not.
No.
And it's very simple, because all the power goes to the president.
Oh wow.
You probably had fun writing that one.
It all goes to me. At least from the rules. There might be another one. Let me make a note to myself to make sure and update this. Okay. But yeah, that's still moving forward. What else? And this has got a typo, and that's bothering me. Oh wow, it actually knows what that is. Any other announcements? Okay. If there are none, let's. Okay. The plugins one is usually a shorter list. It was a new one. Lucky this one? Make deploy failing. Service account is created.
Actually, we had discussion last week. I guess Attila said we'll take a look once. So this is like generated from the Quarkus. This is like known issue, and we might need to discuss with
Do we need to?
Quarkus team
Do we need to
or like
file?
Christoph.
Is it part of the Quarkus extension or like Quarkus proper
yeah.
or Fabricate?
I guess
Quarkus extension.
Quarkus extension. Yeah.
Okay.
So Christoph is well aware of it. So we
Okay.
are waiting for Christoph. By that time, like Attila is taking a look at it.
Can you do me a? Oh, you did add that right there.
Mhm.
Then that's fine. These are all older ones. Get rid of that. Alrighty, that puts us on Java SDK. I don't know if I need to make it bigger or not. Remove dependency. So a lot of these are already tagged. Is there anything in particular in here that needs more discussion, or I know there's a couple that we've mentioned earlier that we wanted to wait till the group is all back together, but that's fine.
Yeah, I don't think so. There is just one thing, the event sourcing timeout. I have a question if you happen to know. It's about the eight issue from the yeah, that the sync time. So I'm not sure if you are aware of this. Maybe you could spare me some time to dig in too much deep in control runtime. It's basically there is a cache sync timeout option for the informers. And I assume that the behavior is to exit or something, is this, the sync is timing out, but I don't know. So it's basically I want to eventually add this to Java Operator SDK too. But yeah, I didn't find in the docs what's happening if it's times out, this cache sync timeout. But I guess it just exits.
Yeah, I sadly I don't know off the top of my head. I'll ping someone now so that I can find the answer.
Okay, thanks. It's I mean it would be a help because otherwise, but if not, then I will dig into it and check in the code. So this was just one, and the other is that there was a lot of discussion this week about between us and the Fabricate client, and then with control runtime on the Slack that basically I'm currently working on the leader election implementation, and basically there is this behavior that if something becomes the leader and then stops being a leader, then basically the process exits. That's how it works in controller runtime. And I just was searching for the arguments behind this, why to exit the process, why not just stop the reconciliation and try to acquire the lock again, if it makes sense. And basically the answer was then later from somebody from control runtime that it's just safer because you don't know what is the logicking reconciler and stuff like that. So it's kind of a little, so already you lost the lock in a leader election. That means something is really going wrong somewhere. Right. And then it's just easier to exit the process. And anyway, Kubernetes will spin up a new replica of the controller. So
and then when it comes back, it'll try and wait until it can get leader election. So basically, I think you've got a bunch, if there's more than one running, they're all waiting for the leader. Yeah. And one of them has the leader. And then when the leader loses it for whatever reason, it goes away. The others try to get it. And
Yes.
then that one that went away will try to come back. A new version of it will come back and try also. And usually one of them will get it, or you get into a really weird state, which is none of them are getting it, and then they're all like waiting.
Okay. Yeah,
And I
yeah.
think that waiting is when you have to go and figure out, okay, what is left? Is there something around that is still lingering, causing it? Because like we had one of the implementations we had used, I think, like a config map, and this one would, if the config map didn't get deleted when the process went away, then everyone got stuck. So the admin had to come in and get rid of that, kind of like deleting the lock and then letting them all settle back in. And then a new one got created and a new leader was elected. So
Yeah, I mean, the currently we have an implementation in Java, which is identical to the implementation in the Go client for the leader election. We have it also in Fabricate client. So we at the end we decided we are going to take the same path that is in Control Runtime and in Go client, and just exit the process if we stop being a leader, because it theoretically could be a temporary network issue or something. But it's hard to detect or hard to verify what went wrong, and it's just safer to just exit the process and spin up a new pod.
Yeah, it's funny because this is one of those areas where Java programmers it's foreign to them, because in the past, you're basically used to trying to create a service or a server that is long running and tries to heal itself and try to stay up as much as possible and handle errors. And often in the Kubernetes world, it's like, just kill it and it'll come back. And it's almost like they just turn it off, and reboot it.
Yes, exactly.
And it's such a strange behavior, because it's like, wait, I've spent all this time making sure that my web app stays up and I can bring up another thread and handle another connection, and if I lose a connection I retry. And then in the Kubernetes world, it's like, we'll just let the pod die, and
I mean, there is an argument why it's would be great to heal, because what we are solving with the direction, the problem is with the slow startups. It's right. That basically if you are killing them, then again it will spin up a pod which might take to run. We might have a long startup time again, but again, if there are more, then already somebody else is the leader, so that's already running, and it's very unlikely then the both will die in the same time. Right. So it's I think it's really good enough this way. So
but it is such a fascinating paradigm shift. I mean, even the whole declarative model piece, because in a lot of the Java world, when you're doing APIs, you're much more worried about a high performance API call to make sure you get back a result in a quick fashion, because often you're waiting. And with the declarative model, it's like, I'm going to get back a quick response, but at some point something will reconcile and actually do what I asked it to do. And that's, I mean, that still hurts my brain sometimes. I'm like, okay, no, it's not supposed to happen so quickly. It can, but it may not. So yeah.
And actually, usually you need leader election just with services which require some right consistency. So usually, like in Elasticsearch and these services, you have just read replicas and just one leader, because of that needs to be consistent for the writes. So, and in Java services, you are just using these backing services, and you usually don't implement leader election because it's usually solved on that layer. So and it's again the other layer with the Kubernetes as well. So had to literally walk around to hear all the arguments, and but I think it's fine. We completely now, and I also wanted to understand all the aspects. So but at the end it's quite simple now to implement. It's really will be few lines of code. and lots of flies for testing. So
Cool. Anyone else have anything they wanted to go over? Or anything specific? I mean, if not, then I think, there's a few bigger things that we've got to I mean, there's clearly the operator framework stuff that's moving along, and then plugin updates, and then a couple issues we have to discuss when the whole group is back. So other than that, I can give you guys your time back if you want.
thank you.
All right. I appreciate everyone. Thank you very much.
Bye bye.
Thanks.